but can we say for the state of New Mexico? Because today we have the opportunity to change the course of New Mexico. And that's going to happen because of the hard work and the concerted effort of everybody in this room. For those of us who were on the ballot, and those of us who stood, raised money, knocked on doors, sent out mail pieces, it's because of your efforts that we as elected officials are here today, and I want to say thank you. On behalf of the governor and all of the Republicans across New Mexico, thank you. God bless you for your tremendous, tremendous service. Thank you. Before I make some remarks, I do want to recognize all of our veterans. And so if you're a veteran or if you have somebody currently serving today, would you please rise so that we can honor you? Please stand. Thank you. God bless you. Those of you who are protecting freedom and liberty throughout this world, we thank you for your commitment and your sacrifice on behalf of this nation. I also want to take a moment, if we will, a moment of silence for Congressman Pierce. He lost his mother. Can we take a moment and honor her passing? Thank you very much. You know, Steve Pierce is one of the great leaders of our party here in New Mexico. And I've said it before that even though Steve does not represent, I live in Albuquerque, even though he doesn't represent the 1st Congressional District, I consider Steve Pierce to be not only my friend, not only a leader in our party, but I consider him to be my congressman. And for those of us who do not live in CD2, I'm sure we feel the same way. So, what happened on November the 4th? Here in New Mexico, the people recognized that there was a true choice in what direction that we would take our state. And after, almost 60 years that the Democrats control the House of Representatives today, we now have the ability to move another part of state government in the right direction. And under the leadership of Speaker Tripp, doesn't that sound great? Speaker Tripp. Don Tripp and I share a little bit of the same background. Don entered the legislature a couple of years before I did. And he was involved in a race for the House of Representatives that a lot of people said he couldn't win. And because Don went out there and outworked his opponent, had the right message, he was able to get himself elected and defeat a very powerful Democrat. And he has proven himself over the years to be a strong, steady voice for Republicans. And not only for Republicans, Don, but for New Mexico. That's a tough district that you live in. And it's because of the way that you have led and the way that you have handled yourself, that's only going to make your leadership as the new Speaker of the House even more effective. And so, Don, I want to thank you. Nothing by these efforts come by chance. It's because of your hard work. And we are so looking forward. As Don came up and I gave him a hug, we'll be doing that quite a bit during the upcoming session, because when we have the joint session and the governor stands up and gives her State of the State speech, I, as then the presiding officer of that, will be taking the gavel from Speaker Don Tripp. I'm looking forward to that. If you need a little practice on how to grab that gavel, I got lessons coming up, okay? So why is it important? It's important because at New Mexico, in the legislature, we're going to be doing some things differently. And I'm not here to speak on behalf of what the Speaker's agenda. I will tell you as Lieutenant Governor what are the priorities for myself, and I'm hoping that comes out of the House of Representatives. We've been waiting for years for us to have the majority to be relevant when it comes to making sure that policies and laws coming out of that chamber are what the people of New Mexico really want. And what are those priorities? For years, we've been trying to repeal the law that gives driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. I'm hoping that that bill comes over to the New Mexico State Senate as a priority from the House of Representatives. Wouldn't that be the type of leadership and the change that we need?
Yes, yes.
As you saw at the last election, and where is Aubrey Dunn? Aubrey, where are you, my friend? You know, he's that sharp guy. There he is. To him as landslide Dunn. the importance of honest elections. And isn't it wonderful that the state of New Mexico saw the importance of sending Diana Duran back as our Secretary of State?
Yes!
To pass legislation that will require you to show an ID at the voting booth, I think is critical. And
Yes,
for those people who
yes,
say
it
that
is.
minorities would somehow be discouraged or somehow be intimidated, well, I never play the race card, but you know what? The last time I looked in the mirror, I'm Hispanic, right? Never bothered me once. And you know, for those people across New Mexico who are proud to stand up and say, listen, we're all Americans, and we want to make sure that our vote counts. And so you know what? We're hoping that that bill comes out of the House of Representatives, that an ID would be required when you vote. That's important for New Mexico.
Yes!
As a longtime business owner, somebody who's made a payroll now going over 30 years, we understand that the key, and as John said, and I believe the speaker talked about, the importance of making sure that New Mexico has the opportunity to grow its economy, to provide the hand up and not the hand out, to ensure that the private sector flourishes, to ensure that people who are willing to risk their capital and go to work every day to create opportunity. And don't tell me that New Mexicans want the handout. New Mexicans are hardworking people who simply want opportunity. We want to make sure that we have the opportunity to the same American dream that exists in other parts of the country. So I believe that the House of Representatives is going to take up legislation that's going to make certain that it makes New Mexico more competitive. And I can't think of a more important law that could happen. We've been fighting for years to do. Let's make New Mexico a right-to-work state.
Yes!
That's all we want. We don't want any special exceptions. We just want to know that we're on the same level playing field as everybody else. And under the leadership of Governor Martinez, we've seen that happen. Now our tax rate is competitive with other states. Our regulatory systems are now more pro-business. We're trying to make sure that New Mexico's kids have every opportunity to the education that they deserve. So when we talk about fighting for reforms, to make sure that we break and push back on the status quo, to allow our kids the opportunity, to give them the tools that they need, put another arrow in their quiver so that they can compete with any kids across the country. This is why it's important. We've talked for years about why elections have consequences, and I can't think of a better opportunity than for us as Republicans to now be able to go out and to show the people of New Mexico that we have a better vision, that we put out a stronger message, that we have a goal, and that is to change our state. I'm confident, folks, that under the leadership of Speaker Tripp and the fine Republicans in the House of Representatives, and for the 17 Republicans who serve in the New Mexico State Senate, all we need are 4 conservative Democrats to come over, to cross over and to vote for legislation. And that puts us as a 21-21 tie. And I would be honored, and I'm hoping that as Lieutenant Governor and as President of the New Mexico State Senate, that I will be casting and breaking more tie votes than any other
Yes.
Lieutenant Governor.
Yes!
It will be my honor to pass up to Governor Martinez's desk those pieces of legislation that are going to move our state forward. We now have the opportunity to govern, though. And let me encourage Republicans from all New Mexico. We have to shake off the shackles and the attitudes that for some reason we've always been in the minority. You know, there was a little bit of comfort in always saying, well, we're the minority party, right? You don't have to take so much responsibility. You see, I, though, was raised and now continue to live my life on the principles that if you have been given the authority, guess what? The responsibility goes hand in hand. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
So the people of New Mexico are going to be looking to us now to take on the responsibilities of governing and not to use, not as an excuse, but just for generations it seemed, the idea that we were in the minority. Look, we don't control all of state government, and it's going to require good leadership to make sure that we can have good pro-business Democrats come over and support our legislation. But we now have a responsibility. The burden, the onus is on us as a party to deliver. And when we want to look at a map, when we're looking at an election, when the pundits on national television put that big American map up on the television screen, and they show all these red states all over this part of the country. And New Mexico somehow always seems to be going blue. Well, I will tell you, today New Mexico is a purple state, and it is our goal, it is our objective to make New Mexico a permanent red state. That's our goal. It's not going to happen, promises, it's not going to happen with us not taking on the responsibility of governing properly. So the burden is on us, and not for those of us who are just in leadership position, but for every one of you. You're here today because you love your party, but more importantly, you love your state, you love your country. We're here because of those reasons. And for the first time, if we ever forget that why we are doing these things, then shame on us. We must keep our eye on the prize to make sure that we lead, that we put forward conservative, pro-business, pro-energy, pro-family legislation and issues that will continue to move this state forward. And one thing I can tell you, if in fact we do, then we as a party will remain and gain, I should say,